You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Today, it is just me and my notepad. Let's get into it with the lead. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Monday edition of Oilers Nation every day and into the Sports Closet Studio. You can find them Sherwood Park Mall, St. Albert Center, and Kingsway Mall. For an Eagles fan, maybe they have some Super Bowl merch in for you. If you're a KC fan, I don't think they sell stuff for runners-up, but that's too bad. It was a interesting game, to say the least, yesterday. Today's show is also a presentation of Bet365, whatever the moment. It is never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today and use code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N, NATION, all caps. I must say it was a well-used app in my Super Bowl party yesterday, to say the least, the Bet365 app. It had some great props, which we'll get into a little bit later on. Tyler Yaremchuk will be around 12:15 Standard Mountain Time. Obviously, he is out in Montreal right now at the Four Nations Face-Off. Canada skated today. We'll chat with him about that. Sidney Crosby said he was good to go. McDavid has some line mates. He's on a crazy power play. I don't want to give too much away because I'm sure you've all seen it already. But either way, we'll get into it with Tyler and get some thoughts from him and what people have been saying around there, because he was also at the press conferences as well with John Cooper, all the players. We'll get a kind of, I guess, a health check on Connor McDavid is probably fair to say as well, after the speculation of maybe he wasn't feeling 100%. Nothing outside of within the Oilers dressing room has said that. It's just the indication of, like, hey, Calvin Pickard was sick, Ekholm was sick, Adam Henrique was sick, and hey, Connor McDavid hasn't exactly been lighting it up recently. I saw Bruce Kurlock on Friday night after the Colorado game. He said McDavid is currently the third best player in the league. The indication would be Draisaitl and McKinnon, a 1 and 2. He also said McDavid probably isn't going to linger around there for too much longer. But let's get into what you guys are saying over in the Odd Company Nation Beer YouTube chat. We are pumped to be partnering with Odd Company to bring you the all-new Nation Beer. It's called Nation Beer Everyday Lager, and you obviously see it every single day on this show, too. You can see it when this slate comes off, and it's just held right in my hand. A few of these were consumed yesterday. They're perfect for the next big game and your new go-to lager. If you don't live by one of the Odd Company locations in Ritchie or downtown, you can just go on Liquor Connect and see where they're sold near you. Oh, holy baloney. We have a big-time super chat from Mistaken Mexican. It's everyone's favorite number. $69 from Mistaken Mexican going to the Ben Stelter Foundation. Every donation you make to the Super Chat, any of our shows here at Oilers Nation, will go to the Ben Stelter Foundation. And for $69, I believe that is the biggest one we've ever had. Brett, you probably would know. You do. Brett's here, by the way.
I am here.
Brett is here, the bread man.
Hola, I'm new boardsy and more handsome. And a little more pounds. But, yes, I do think that is the highest Super Chat we've ever received.
I think so, too. Thank you very much, Mistaken Mexican. Also, as well, our intern Reese is going to be in the YouTube chat at some point today, so make sure you drop in some crazy questions for him to have to answer. He's excited to be in there. But Mistaken Mexican said, "This is almost as nice as seeing KC get absolutely stomped. I was not excited for Four Nations, but damn, I need hockey." Yeah, I think the Four Nations is very... We got asked this the other week in our, what do they call it, the mailbag on Mondays, that we get sent. You can send questions to Bag Milk, and then the questions go out to a bunch of us too. It's myself, Gregor, Tyler, Zach, Cam, and BM answer the questions for you every Monday. I typically forget every other week, but I do my best to be on it as often as I can. Someone said that, are you excited for the Four Nations? I summarize it as this, Brett, as saying, I'm not excited, but I'm never excited for the World Juniors until that starts either.
Really?
Like, I don't have a build-up for the World Juniors. It just kind of, like, gets underway. I'm excited for the roster announcement when that gets done, but then there's, like, such a long lead-up to it. It's like, okay, once the puck drops, that's when I get invested, and then you can go from there. But what are you feeling about this? Obviously, Wednesday, it all begins.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from when it gets to the just, like, these international competitions are in the middle of this season. Unless it's the Olympics, I can kind of understand. And I think it's mostly because we just don't know what to expect. We don't know how serious these players are going to take this tournament. Last time with the World Cup of Hockey, that happened at the start of the season when everybody was getting into their training camps and all that, and mostly everyone was just trying to get into shape heading into the season. Now we're halfway through the year, more than halfway through the year, and guys are stinging a little bit. Guys are battling for playoff positions. They're in a different spot than what they would be. For me, like, World Juniors is the pinnacle. I love World Juniors. I will sit down and watch Latvia versus Austria, and I'll have the time of my life. But this, I just don't know. I don't know if it's just the matter of it's all players that we know and we watch them all the time. It's the NHL and this, that, the other thing. But so far, I'm not too excited for the tournament.
Yeah, is he just a glorified all-star game with a little bit more contact? I think that might be a good way to do it, right?
Well, and that's the other thing. Like, is some of the best players, like Leon Draisaitl's not in this tournament, Alex Ovechkin, all the Russian players are not, Czech players
no
are
Czechs,
not
no Slovakians.
So is it really best on best if we're only picking 4 nations? I mean, freaking Nicholas Mantipalo is playing for
Finland,
Finland, and I picked him up in NHL because I thought I was going to be some genius picking up a European player. Now here he is playing. No. That's not good.
Let's get into what you guys are talking about in the Odd Company chat right now. Danger Suede, thank God that nerd Tyler isn't here. We get to have actual fun. Tyler will be around in about 5 more minutes. Sorry, Danger Suede. Maybe you can stick around for at least 5 more minutes for us. There was another comment here from Joe. Oh, dope. I didn't think we'd get an O&E this week. Let's go Oil. Rest up and come out flying. We'll actually be live as regularly as we would be.
Regularly scheduled program.
We're Monday to Friday the week after. Tyler will be away the entire time. He'll be here more regularly, I think, on Wednesday and then the rest of the way onwards. But today and tomorrow is kind of media day, so it's a bit more hectic for him. So you'll have to deal with me. Continuing on, into the YouTube chat. There's obviously a little bit of conversation about goaltending. Shocker. D. White, Bouchard was not even considered as a replacement for Pietrangelo. Should give the Oilers all the information they need not to pay Bouchard a crazy amount in the next contract. What I would say to you, D, is those two are not comparable players, and I think that's why Bouchard probably wasn't considered. Now, if Cale Makar goes down injured, then I think there's probably more of a conversation of Evan Bouchard being in that. But also, too, I don't know if Evan Bouchard fully warranted a spot on this team, and I think also when you have guys like Shea Theodore and Josh Morrissey, as well as Makar, you don't need 4 egregiously offensive guys. I do think Morrissey and Theodore are different to Bouchard as well, but more offensive than what a Pietrangelo or Parayko would be.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to replace it's more of a need, the role. You're replacing the role that would have been played. And for me, honestly, the Oilers defenseman that should have been in this conversation instead of Bouch is Darnell.
Daryl.
He's had a fantastic year so far.
People were pretty, I know we put out a post on, being like, before they named Drew Doughty, if you didn't see, Drew Doughty was named as a replacement for Pietrangelo, I think yesterday or the day before, whatever.
Yesterday.
Over the weekend sometime. We put out a post being like, should Nurse replace Pietrangelo? Maybe if he was a left-handed player that had left the lineup, Nurse could have been more in the conversation, but Nurse has played well enough that, like, I think a lot of you would be surprised how much he was in the conversation from what we were told anyway. One last thing before we move on. JR, Liam running O&E is less formal but no fun. Thank you. It's because Tyler knows what he's doing, and I'm just running by the seat of my pants here. Matthew, Liam, I know it's early to say, but how excited are you about the return of Evander Kane? Do you think he returns after the 4 Nations? Evander Kane, I'd put a lot on it and just say he won't be back to the playoffs because, quite frankly, the Oilers need to acquire a couple of pieces before they move on to bringing back Evander Kane, and I think Evander Kane also wants to try and win a Stanley Cup, so having him come back for the playoffs is a huge thing to just be able to have those upgrades.
Do you think, I know there's always this conversation that we're having in regards to the rhetoric of he's coming back for the playoffs. He has to come back for the playoffs. Does it not kind of seem like, I know there's been press conferences about his injury and his surgery, and don't worry, guys, he's coming back. But does it not kind of seem like from the outside from outside of what they've done in press conferences that they're kind of planning as if he won't play till the playoffs?
Yeah.
Because you see the Klingberg edition, you pick up Kasperi Kapanen as well. It seems like they're in all these conversations. It doesn't really seem like they're trying to accrue cap space anymore, which obviously they aren't. It seems like they're kind of playing with that $5 million dollars or whatever you have in that LTIR space right now.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, too, the Oilers, again, need that to happen. And to answer your question, Matthew, am I excited? I guess. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it too much. I like Evander Kane as an Oiler. I think he's been a really fun player in moments and a lot of good memories. Obviously, the 7 against the LA Kings is quite a good one. He made that play actually that stands out and I think is massively underrated during Evander Kane's tenure here is when the forecheck he had on Hronek or Hughes, one of the two, which then bled out to be in an Evan Bouchard goal with 30 seconds left against Vancouver. And what would that have been, game 5, I think it was?
Yeah.
So, game 4, yeah, I think it was game 4. That is honestly my favorite Evander Kane moment. So, I wouldn't say I'm excited. I'm not excited to see him in the lineup by any means, but again, just not really thinking about it too much. I think he'll be a bottom 6 player in the playoffs, to be honest.
He also scored that living on a prayer goal.
He did.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Okay, let's move on to the score and summary, because the Oilers did play a game on Friday. This will be the last game we talked to you about specifically regarding the Edmonton Oilers until I think they come back and play Philly. That's right, because we have our Brunch for Ben game day. Unfortunately, that one sold out for all the people that wanted to come. But if you did, maybe we can figure it out. Naeem also put in there, blowing the kiss to the Vegas lady. That was awesome. I just wish the Oilers would have won that game. But the scoring summary is brought to you by Service Credit Union. The Service Big Share contest is in full swing with your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Who can't do that? Anyone can enter by becoming a member and saving with Service. Every $500 saved gives you 5 entries into the Service Big Share contest. Contest ends April 30th, 2025. Skill test required for rules. Visit service.ca/win. All right, Breadman. Let's get into the scoring summary because we were discussing off air as well. There's a lot of goals to get into. So this is obviously the first one. 10 minutes in. Vancouver. Colorado on the power play. Nathan MacKinnon puts 1-5 on Stuart Skinner. Ugly goal, to say the least. This was one Stuart Skinner, most goalies in the league, and I do think on different night maybe Skinner would save this one, but for me this is inexcusable. This one has to be stopped by the Oilers, number one, and obviously there's been a lot of conversation about Skinner, and we spoke about it last week too. Just his performances against good top 10 teams in the NHL isn't exactly fantastic. Good games against LA and Vegas, but out of the division has really, really struggled against other teams that aren't named the Minnesota Wild. So this is one that's just like, you can say Nathan MacKinnon's the shooter, but I don't see that as an excuse, to be honest. But Brett, do you have something on that one?
Selfishly, MB, get in front of that shot.
Yeah, also too, you do want to see a block from Emberson, but with that said as well, like, yeah, I guess he could. Yeah, he didn't really get down for it.
At least get your knee down, right?
Yeah, you're right. Emerson could have got down a bit better, but either way, like, it shouldn't have gone through Skinner. But 1-0 goal for Colorado. The Oilers respond basically right away, getting put on the power play themselves. Leon Draisaitl, which this was his 39th goal of the season. Nice pass by Nugent Hopkins there to find him inside, and just a great release by Leon as well. Getting it right off his stick and beating Mackenzie Blackwood high to make it 1-1. There's Mistaken Mexican. Hey. Insert Leo meme. I see you guys are commenting too in the YouTube tab. We'll continue to get to your comments too. I just want to try and get through this. Scoring summary, it took me about 40 minutes when I did After Dark on Friday to circle through it. So we'll continue on here with the 2-1 goal, which again, another ugly one from Stuart Skinner. However, I will say the Oilers really needed to make a better effort at filling in the space and preventing Cale Makar from allowing to get this shot away, because it was not a good one either by I think it was McDavid and Hyman who struggled on this one there. So for me, that is not a good look by those two either, just to kind of leave one of the best offensive defensemen, if not the best offensive defenseman in the league, all alone there. It's just not a good look. So that made it 2-1 to the Colorado Avalanche. And again, one that you would want Skinner to stop because he went right under his arms, but the defense needed to play slightly better. I do think the first one on the power play was probably worse than this one if we're really comparing the two, but both of them needed to be stopped. At least one of them needed to be stopped, to say the least.
You think this one was better than the first, or I guess the first one was worse than this one, eh?
I do, because the first one, this is a straight-up one-on-one shot, and I think sometimes you've got to give credit to the shooter a little bit too, and I think the defensive play wasn't good on this one by any means. Like, again, like McCall was given so much space, but on the other one, like, McKinnon's lining up for that shot for quite a while, and it still manages to find a way to go 5-hole on him. Not good. Not good. But,
That's
I mean,
fair.
we're grasping at straws a little bit for the two of them. Quite frankly, they were both terrible, and they both needed to be saved by Stuart Skinner, who needs to show up better in these games for the Oilers. But luckily for Stuart Skinner, the Oilers found a way to respond again to make it 2-2. And who is this one? Corey Perry. Of course it was. Corey Perry is just finding ways this season to contribute at such a high rate for the team. The shooter on that one originally and comes in and gets a rebound on that one as well. And just, I thought that line of him, Henrique, and Kasperi Kapanen, all three of them had a really strong game. And Corey Perry, I know Tyler and I have both been on the show and multiple other shows around our network as well, and said, hey, maybe Corey Perry the Oilers shouldn't have paid Corey Perry as much as they did to start the season, but he's kind of made everyone just shut up right now. He's almost, like, what would that be, $100,000 a goal he's getting pretty close to based off his contract. So you can't be too disappointed in what Corey Perry is doing. And there's a lot of conversation right now about the Oilers' scoring depth, especially on the wings, and Corey Perry stepping up. Probably, we were talking about this on the Friday postgame show as well, and I'd like to hear what you guys think in the chat as well. Corey Perry, the biggest surprise on the Oilers this year? I think there's a conversation with him. Ty Emberson's another good one. I think you could even say maybe, like, I know he came later in the year, but Kasperi Kapanen coming in and playing the way he did. I think he did a really good job. Let me know in the chat if you think Corey Perry has been the biggest surprise for the Edmonton Oilers this season. But unfortunately, the scoring was not over in the first period, and the Colorado Avalanche made it 3-2. Transition play. I think that's Devon Taves who got it off the boards right to Nathan McKinnon and Darnell Nurse. Maybe that was a change. I don't recall, to be honest. Terry Leckenham, wide open. This one, Stu, yes, you could have made a big save. Also, shout out to those guys trying to make a high five. That was special, to say the least. But this one, 2-on-1. Nathan McKinnon makes a really good pass across. Terry Leckenham does the rest of the job. And look, not a good period by Stu, which is probably an understatement, but that one for me is, okay, guy wide open in the slot on a 2-on-1. You're asking a lot from him there. I think Nurse or whoever, it was Nurse, the forward, maybe can help him out. Didn't like that one, Brett. What were your overall thoughts from the first period?
From the first period?
Yeah, there's a lot. The 5 goals in the first, there was only 9 in the game. So
that's insane. I totally forgot this was all the first period. I don't want to go with the good old moniker of they're not playing well in the first period, because I think that's just kind of worn out, and it's obviously happening. But I think the last 2 games, they've actually started the games pretty well.
The first 10 minutes of this game was good from both goalies.
Yeah,
I think they both exchanged good saves in all of this.
You can't. How do you coach that? You can't coach that, right? You can't coach waking up a little bit, like you can't coach starting on time. At least I don't think so, but that's also why I'm not a coach. So it's disappointing, especially considering all the things that you mentioned last week with the inability for Stuart Skinner to play that well, or at least lights out, or at least as a goaltender who can win a game for you against top 10 teams. And if you're starting every game like this, it's not a recipe for success. So when you're doing it against a team like the Colorado Avalanche and consistently not being able to start games on time, I think kind of spells an issue. But what can you really do? How do you coach that?
Yeah, I don't know. They have to figure it out amongst themselves, I think. A bit more structure, perhaps, just from the players in general. Like, you don't want to get too far away from your game because the Oilers, I think, typically a well-structured defensive team, but sometimes they can definitely expose themselves. And as we continue on in the scoring summary, you'll see there's really is one common factor from the Colorado Avalanche that was played fantastic for them, to be honest. But quickly before we move on, we did get a super chat from Mark Nelson. $10 from Mark. He just said 50.
50.
Could mean anything.
Oh, he just sent another one.
Oh, there we go. Oh, Mark. Wow, thank you so much. Mark just, I think, accidentally donated $10 and said 50 and then followed up with another $50 to the super chat and said, "There we go, lol." So let's give Mark some love in the YouTube chat right now, please, and thank you very much, Mark, for your $60 donation to the Ben Stelter Foundation. Like I said, all the funds from our super chat go directly to the Ben Stelter Foundation. So it's obviously something we are all pretty passionate about here at Oilers Nation and out there as well for you guys listening. Comment from Naeem: when I see Stu getting pulled and Pickard coming in, it makes me want to throw up. Well, I wonder what you did at the start of the second period on Friday night, Naeem, because Calvin Pickard comes in to replace Stuart Skinner and was fine. I don't think Pickard by any means was the reason the Oilers lost this game. What did he finish with? He had an .895 save percentage, made 17 stops on 19. Yeah, one of them was a short-handed goal, which I think is the next one, right? It wasn't it 4-2. Let's get into that one. I'm sure that'll bring some good conversation to the chat right now. The Oilers on the power play made their way through the second period, and Evan Bouchard, after beating the guy, doesn't see him right behind him again and passes it right to Parker Kelly, and Cale McCaw gets it around Calvin Pickard. Maybe you could have seen a little bit more from Pickard on that one, but I mean, at the end of the day, that chance never should have come if Evan Bouchard didn't give that puck away. That's a disappointing part and a frustrating part from the fan base on Bouchard. I think we can all agree he's a really good player, and he makes a lot of good plays. He has more good plays than bad plays, but unfortunately, his bad plays typically result in a puck going in the back of the net, making it a 4-2. Maynard Nugent Spivey in the chat said, "Good Lord." Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Rusty said, "Oh yes, Bouchard gifted Colorado this one." Yeah, Bush going tape to tape again. Yeah, he's consistent with it, to say the least. But obviously not a pretty one for Bouchard. I thought the power play was pretty weak, especially the first unit. Obviously, they get the goal in the first period, but I think in general they did not show a lot of promise throughout the night. But the second unit power play did. As we continue on here, the second unit power play comes on right after this one and finds a response to bring the Oilers back within one. Nice little play by Jeff Skinner here to find that room and skate towards the net. And Corey Perry, the man hasn't lost it. His 12th goal of the season, his second goal of this game. We were on hat-trick watch for Corey Perry, which is a sentence I didn't think we were going to talk about all this season. But here we are, Corey Perry dragging the Oilers back into the battle once again. I'm going to be very curious to see what they do with him in the back half of the season after what we saw in the playoffs last year. I doubt they do too much load management with him, but he has been scratched once this season, which I think was purely based off like, hey, maybe let's give our 39-year-old forward a break. But Corey Perry just doing what he does. He's becoming a fan favorite in Edmonton, which is crazy to think about if you go talk to some fans in 2017. But either way, the game continued on, and the Oilers made it 4-4 with a goal from Leon Draisaitl, his 40th of the season. From his knees, beats Mackenzie Blackwood, who, again, also did not have a very good game this one, too. Back-to-back games, the Oilers have been able to put 4 goals past Mackenzie Blackwood. Unfortunately, only one of them resulted in victory. Mackenzie Blackwood, 23 saves, .852 save percentage. He was coming into this game pretty hot too. 2 shutouts in his last 5 games against Philadelphia and the St. Louis Blues. But Leon Draisaitl, just as Nathan McKinnon, I think it's fair to say, was the best player on the ice in this game. Leon Draisaitl really was not too far behind him at all and dragged the Oilers back into the battle in a night where Connor McDavid, I think it's fair to say, didn't have his best night and was outshined by these two, as we indicated earlier on with Bruce Kurlock's tweet about it. But unfortunately, it was the Colorado Avalanche who would end up winning this hockey game with Martin Necas tapping one in on the back post after Nathan MacKinnon does a lot of the work here. Puck comes loose to the back. Nathan MacKinnon, finds him. Necas. Would have been nice to see a defenseman cover him a little bit there, but a couple of puck watches, and next thing you know, the Colorado Avalanche make it 5-4. The Oilers aren't able to respond, so it's a 5-4 final. The Oilers go into the Four Nations break 2 points up on the Vegas Golden Knights for the Pacific Division. And there you have it. Disappointing one, I think it's fair to say, when you go back and look through the scoring summary over at NHL.com. Nathan MacKinnon finished with 4 points. He had 1 goal, 3 assists. The only goal he wasn't involved in was the Cale Makar shorthanded goal, which was when Makar, Parker Kelly, Evan Bouchard secondary assist on that one. And when you go look at the Oilers one, 2 goals for Draisaitl, 2 goals for Corey Perry. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins mixed in a couple of assists. But other than that, not too many outstanding performances. So let me know in the chat, what is your big takeaway as we'll move into that one right away here, bro. I'll just take a look in the chat quickly. Bosch. Yes, Liam, some D coverage would be nice. I agree. Naeem, if Leon got to... Oh, my goodness. Whatever. Well, Leon scored 2 goals against Mackenzie Blackwood on Friday night, Naeem, and you think very highly of him. So... what else have we got here? Rusty, I'm enjoying seeing Corey Perry quite a bit. Isaac, if this was 2017, I would have throttled Corey Perry. Well, there you go. A lot going on here. Okay, Brett, before we move on, what is your big takeaway? What is your final thoughts from this game?
My big takeaway was this was a team who was ready to go on the break. I think, obviously, this is a game that ended in a 5-4 game, but started slow. It seemed like they had some opportunities to kind of ratchet up the offense or ratchet up the intensity or whatever it may have been, but they just didn't. And I just think it was a team that's just ready. They came off another long-ish road trip. It felt like a long road trip. You haven't had a lot of home games as of late. You've just basically been living out of a suitcase, which I don't imagine is going to change now on this break. I'm sure a lot of them are also taking more planes to places to whatever, hang out and have a break. But it just seemed like a team that was ready for a break. I don't take a lot of stock out of this game. Obviously, to finish 5-4 against a team that you were probably half lackadaisical in is probably a good thing. But, yeah, for me, just take and go.
Yeah. I got 2 quick things. We have a super chat, and I think Tyler's here, right? Okay. I'll read the super chat, Tyler, and I'm going to read an ad read, and then I'm coming to you. We have made so much money on the show for the Ben Seltz Foundation so far today, and we just got another $20 from Mainlander Tim. Tim says, go Oilers, go. Thanks, Tim. That's a bit of a tangent. Liam Horrobin, I'm excited. I'm excited by the Four Nations, and if Canada doesn't win, I am not reading that next one. That was very close. You almost got me. I will not be eating cat food live on O&E the day after our watch party. Unfortunately for you, Tim, I will not be doing that. But hey, maybe our next guest will. Over on the Star Mechanical guest line. Star Mechanical is one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operated plumbing heating businesses. They have been working within the community for over 20 years, and many of the homes built in Edmonton over the last 2 decades have had their plumbing and heating systems installed by Star Mechanical. Visit them at starmechanical.ca to schedule an appointment and let them help you keep your home running smoothly. Oh, yeah. Bring him in. Hello, Tyler.
Whoa. Hello, Liam. How are you doing?
I'm well. I am very well. I almost just got baited into eating cat food. What's that like?
I know. I heard that a little bit there. I was worried for you. I'm happy you stopped reading that when you did. Also, some of the lights turned off. So as you can tell, I got like this one dark part of my face now.
Yeah, keep those hands down.
Sorry.
Okay. How you doing? How is Quebecois?
Yeah, Montreal's been it's been good so far. Last night went out, had a beer with our friend Patrick Puff. It was a good time, and today it's kind of like media day here. So all the teams are doing their first practices, and then when they're done their first practice, they go to like these kind of media booths, and you have a chance to ask everybody some questions. So got in on the Sidney Crosby scrum. He seems good to go. Seems very, very fired up for this. He says he didn't use the term 100%, but it sounds like he's going to play in Canada's opener on Wednesday. I also had a chance to ask Mattias Ekholm a question, and he didn't like it that much. He didn't think it was a very good question. His response, I'll send you the video. I was like, hey, in line rushes, you weren't on a line with your brother Brady. And I kind of I was smiling, like I was asking in like a lighthearted way. I was like, a little disappointing that you don't get a chance to play with Brady. And he was like, why would I be disappointed? It's a 5-minute thing. And I was like, okay, sorry.
Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, sorry, Matt.
Yeah, better. He was Sam Benny was much friendlier at the Stanley Cup final when we were there. What was what's it been like? How was it like kind of seeing Crosby and all those guys out there? I mean, like, you're not going to see a better group of Canadian players skating on the same ice together until Wednesday.
Yeah, it was honestly pretty sweet, especially when they started doing the power play and penalty kill stuff, and it's McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, Makar, and Sam Reinhart, and they were down kind of on my side of the ice where I was sitting for practice, so I got to kind of see how they're all communicating, and like Sidney Crosby, those 5 guys were the last 5 guys on the ice at the end of practice as well, so they were working on some extra stuff. They were doing some giving goes on the short side with McDavid and Crosby. And you know how Crosby kind of has that like patented like low slot deflection where he just kind of like touches it, right? So he was actually talking with Nathan McKinnon on like, hey, I want the puck closer to this foot, and was like showing McKinnon where he wants him to put that puck. So again, really cool just to see all the skill on the ice, best players in the NHL, best players in the world. But like, again, the way Crosby and McKinnon and McDavid were all communicating and like trying to get that first power play going. Like, you have to learn chemistry very, very quickly in this tournament. If you lose one game, you put yourself behind the 8 ball so hard. So it's a really quick tournament. Crosby kind of acknowledged that when I was talking to him after too. And it's like, yeah, we have to get dialed in really quick here. They can't afford to come out of the gate slow. A power play on night 1 against Sweden on Wednesday could be absolutely massive. So to see them again, learning from each other, trying to see and see what each other want them to do on the ice. I know that was a bit of a broken sentence, but it was neat to see.
Have you had a chance to see Finland's mighty blue line skate yet?
No. So Finland is going to be the last team to practice. It is funny, like Ville Heinola is the only Finnish-born defenseman to play a game in the NHL and not be on their roster at some point in this Four Nations lead up. So they are really deep in the well. The guy from Ottawa, I don't even know his name, but he's going to be their 7th defenseman. But Team Sweden was on the ice right now. So hoping that when they wrap up here, I'll bounce out of this and I'll hopefully get to go chat with Viktor Arvidsson and Mattias Ekholm, because, hey, they're going to have to go toe-to-toe with Connor McDavid on Wednesday.
How long are you sticking around here with us for? Are you here for the rest of the show or just a little bit longer?
Well, I think Sweden is getting off the ice right now, so I probably have like another 10 minutes.
Okay. Do you want to give one big take for me from Friday night's game?
I mean, the goaltending wasn't good, Liam. You and I are both Stuart Skinner supporters. We haven't been all that hard on him in the past. Again, I think we were justified in doing so, but it's also justified to look at that game the other night and go, Stuart Skinner's the reason they lost. Like, he had to make a big save at some point. He did not make a big save at some point, got pulled after the first, and it's like, if one of those stinkers doesn't go in, that the Oilers win that hockey game, even though, and I like what Brett said, they didn't play all that urgent. I think there were a lot of guys who were looking ahead to the break and not focusing on the task at hand. But again, the fact that the Oilers can bring that, call it C+, B- level of play and hang in the game they did, the way they did against Colorado, with the goaltending being as poor as it was, I think that, again, says a lot about the upside that this team has. Also, I tweeted about it, and it got some traction, but Connor McDavid just looked weirdly off once again. He's had a couple of games now coming into this Four Nations break where he has not looked like vintage Connor McDavid, and that's I don't know. I think I don't want to say it's concerning, because it's McDavid, and he'll snap out of it and he'll figure it out, and I'm sure come playoff time he'll be dialed in. But right now, it is weird to see him not looking like his usual dominant self. Like before, it's like even when McDavid's not at his best, he's still Connor McDavid, right? But that has been the case the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's we were kind of talking on the post-game show on Friday. It's like, maybe he's sick, slightly sick, and that's kind of thrown him off his game a little bit. Was he I'm assuming he was doing media, right? Did he seem fine? If you know what I mean?
He actually was. He was not one of the players who came on and did media. It was just Crosby, Parayko, and Montembeault. Weirdly enough, I don't know why they picked Sam Montembeault, and then John Cooper, the coach. So didn't get a chance to see McDavid, but again, skating around on the practice ice, he looked fine. We'll see what he looks like when the games come around. What do you make of the line decision that John Cooper had, going McDavid with Sam Reinhart and Mitch Marner? I kind of like the McDavid-Reinhart duo. But I will say, interesting him and Marner. I'm curious to see how the two of them can play off each other. Neither one is, a particularly heavy shooter or anything like that. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're probably just looking to get Sam Reinhart as many opportunities as they can, and obviously Marner and McDavid, two elite playmakers. So I don't mind it. I think we're going to see so many combinations, to be honest. I'm not really thinking about it too much. Have you found your excitement level has grown now that you're actually there?
Yeah, I would also. I think I disagree on we'll see a lot of combos. It's such a short tournament. Like, if things are going bad, I guess you want to switch it up quickly, but like, you don't have a lot of time for things to go poorly if you're Team Canada, right? Anyways, is my excitement growing? Yes, it is. Seeing the guys out there in the jerseys, and also, I kind of made this point before, but like, I said my excitement level will be based on how intense the players feel about this and how badly they want it. And hearing Sidney Crosby, the face of the sport, one of the greatest players ever, talk about everything, that he kind of had to go through to get the green light to come play in this, and how much it means to him and how badly he wants to, put on the maple leaf again. This means a lot to the players. This is not being treated like some sort of a glorified all-star game. The practice they had today for Team Canada was an intense practice. Like, they were moving, they were battling. Like, this was a group of guys who was locked in. They aren't just here for, a fun couple of 7 to 10 days, whatever. They're here and they're dialed in, man.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's what the NHL wants as well. Obviously, there's been a lot of big-time players who aren't able to go, like Quinn Hughes dropped out over the weekend, but he seemed like he really pushed himself to try and make himself available for the U.S. I'll ask you one more, Tyler, since you got to go. Elliot Freeman said over the weekend that the Oilers have shown interest in Ryan Donato, or one of those teams that seems to be pushing it that way. I don't think I'm in on Ryan Donato unless you can get him for like a third or a fourth round pick. I was looking, he has 19 goals this season. His shooting percentage is close to 16. What do you make of the idea of the Oilers trying to get Ryan Donato?
To me, it's a little bit counter to it's the opposite of what we've been hearing about the Oilers over the last month or so, right? We kept hearing like they want to get bigger, they want to add some toughness to their bottom six. Ryan Donato doesn't exactly scratch that itch, right? So I think he's fine, and obviously the offensive numbers are there, and he's gotten a chance to play with Bedard at stretches this year. What's Ryan Donato giving you in 12 minutes, though? That I don't want this to sound dumb, but like, you have other guys in your bottom six who can create a little bit of offense, right? Like, is Ryan Donato such a massive upgrade over a Kasperi Kapanen for the role you need? Like, Ryan Donato is no doubt a much better hockey player. I'm not trying to make that point, but I'm just saying with what the Oilers currently have, how different is Ryan Donato? Like, to me, it's kind of just bringing in a guy just to bring him in a little bit. I don't agree with it. If they're going to go hunting for someone in the bottom six, I think they need to go for someone with a bit more jam and a little bit of bite, as much as that's kind of an old school way to look at it. Give yourself something different in the bottom six. If you just want skilled guys who can chip in, whatever, you have a Henrique, you have a Connor Brown, you have Kasperi Kapanen, and we've seen, like, if you're going to come to Edmonton and play in the bottom six, you are not getting 14 or 15 minutes a night. You are getting closer to 10, 11, 12 minutes a night. And can Ryan Donato be this productive with that amount of ice time? I don't think so. So I think it's kind of a little pointless. I could see him ending up in Winnipeg. I think that's a decent fit for him.
Yeah, that one actually makes way more sense. I agree. The other part of it, too, for Donato is he doesn't kill penalties. But I don't know. It feels like we've seen, like, and I know Jeff Skinner is obviously a better player than what Ryan Donato is, but we talked about Oliver Bjorkstrand, too, a couple of weeks ago. Like, if they don't have the defensive intangibles, then Chris Knobloch is just not going to want these guys on his team because that's what he wants. And I know Skinner doesn't play on the penalty kill, but we've seen it all year. If, like, Skinner's not back checking or whatever he's missed on, he sits in the stands or he sits on the bench for the entire game. It just seems like a bad a bad addition, to be honest. I'm still not fully sure what the Oilers should even do, but let's get a final prediction from you because you'll be back tomorrow. You're there for your first day. How is this tournament going to go?
Well, also, good chance for me to plug that Frank and I are going live tonight at, I believe, 6 o'clock Eastern. So we're going live this evening with a full hour-long preview show. So catch that over on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. I think Team USA is the most complete team. I think goaltending is going to make a massive difference in this tournament. And yeah, I think that's going to be what ultimately pushes USA over the edge. I just think goaltending is a significant enough drop-off here where I like Canada's forward group a lot. How could you not look at all of that skill? But then you look at Team USA, and it's Matthews, and it's Eichel, and it's the Tkachuks, and it's like, okay, they also have a ton of skill. The Quinn Hughes loss is big. I like Canada's blue line more than I like Team USA's, if I'm being honest. But Connor Hellebuck, man, he's going to be the difference maker. So I have it going to a Canada-USA final. I think Sweden will come third, Finland a distant fourth. And I think Team USA will beat them in the final in Boston in 10 days or whenever we get there, 15 days.
Brett has a question for you, then we'll let you go.
Yeah, sorry, Tyler. Quick question. How excited is Frank today?
I haven't seen him yet. He hasn't gotten in because he was at the Super Bowl last night. And then he took the red-eye home last night. And then he's flying here right now. So I think he lands at like 5 o'clock. We're going to have to go pick him up. And then we're going to the Le Poche Bleu studios to do our preview show tonight. So, yeah.
I hope his face is painted teal, like an Eagles teal. Like he just got so excited and he couldn't get off his face enough that he just has a little green tinge to him.
I think you and I both know Frank Saravalli is not a face paint guy, but I like the visual.
That's a dream. Okay, Tyler, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, see you, boys. Oh, Louis DeBrusque will be on the show tomorrow.
Sounds good. See you then.
See you, boys.
Talking about Severance. That'll be exciting.
Big Severance guy, eh?
Quick appearance from Tyler. I thought we had him the whole time. I did not have anything else written down.
So,
No,
sports.
I'm kidding. I got a couple of things. We did talk about the One Big Take, which is brought to you by the Edmonton Police Service. The Edmonton Police Service wants to remind you of Curb the Danger, report an impaired driver by calling 911. If you suspect a driver is impaired by drugs or alcohol, call 911 immediately. You'll be asked to report the last direction of travel, vehicle description, and a number. For more information on Curb the Danger, visit edmontonpolice.ca/impaired driving. Obviously, incredibly important we keep drunk drivers off the road and make our streets a little bit safer for everyone. But I asked you guys a little bit earlier on. People are asking for the flag game. Maybe later in the week. Some things are going to be hard to it's going to be difficult to talk about the Oilers all week, But I think we'll do a lot of trade talk as the week kind of goes on here. But one big take from yesterday's game, if you want to drop that in the from Friday's game, if you want to drop that in the chat. Tyler gave his, obviously said the goaltending. I was thinking the same. I had a feeling he might go in that direction, so I'm going to go in a different direction and just say, let's not overreact to this. It was not a good win by the Oilers, but they essentially got beat by one line. A few last week's show, maybe earlier in the week, late the week before, we spoke about potential of facing Colorado in the playoffs. My opinion on them has not changed at all. I see Minnesota, honestly, as like a slightly bigger threat. Obviously, Colorado has like the bigger, the fiery, more players in McKinnon and Cale McCarr. Mighty Natures will see what he can kind of do in the playoffs for that team. Mackenzie Blackwood, the Oilers have played him twice, scored 4 goals on him in both games. I know Colorado has done that for Edmonton, but I just think in a 7-game series, the Oilers are going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Colorado and probably beat them in 6.
Well, the fact that they played them like this, and assuming, obviously, as we've mentioned, that it seemed like they were a little behind the 8 ball and 1 foot out the door already, considering that it was a 5-4 game and a defensively sloppy game for both teams. I think we can both argue that it was sloppy for both teams.
Totally.
And both teams didn't get the goaltending that they exactly expected, because imagine if Mackenzie Blackwood happens to make 1-2 extra saves, right? It looks a little bit different. So the fact that you can beat this team, lose to this team when it looked like you should have lost by 3 or more, I think is a pretty positive sign, especially considering, too, with Minnesota, you mentioned, they've beat Minnesota twice this year.
Yeah, I just think Minnesota has a slightly deeper blue line and a few more forwards that I like. A couple more game breakers, I guess we can say. Someone, I give credit to him, Andrew Walker on Sports 1440 when I was driving home on Friday from our postgame show was still going. They seem to go on forever. So if you're looking for a little bit more coverage after our postgame shows, just tune into the radio. He said the Oilers and Colorado narrative has flipped in a way that now you think back to when the Oilers lost in the Western Conference Final, it's basically McDavid and Draisaitl, and you hoped somebody else could contribute. Now it's kind of like that with the Colorado Avalanche, right? In the sense of like they have McKinnon, they have McCaw, they have Natchez, and obviously Lehkonen is a good player as well, but like he can't do it on his own, and now Edmonton has a much deeper team. I just think the Oilers are going to be able to overcome them. A big take from Mainlander Tim, who said he was going to eat cat food if Team Canada won the Four Nations, said even with the new goalies, we can still drop 4 on Colorado. Brad said here, it honestly seems like the Oilers are putting on a class on how to win while conserving as much energy as possible for the playoffs. We're going to see a different team come game 83. I completely agree. I think things will really flip once that playoffs come around because, to be honest, I don't think the Oilers want to be playing these 82 games. They just have to. Mike D put in there as well, and maybe we'll talk about this more in what's trending, but said I binged Severance over the weekend, and awesome show. It is a fantastic show. I love Severance so much. Tobias said, he put a comment in there earlier. Sorry, Tobias. I scrolled past it and forgot to read it. If you want to drop it again, I know it was a bit of a hate comment on Skinner. I think he said Skinner has been an unpleasant surprise, but he said, not with Skinner in net. We don't win in 6. We will lose. I think both goalies in that series would be able to flip for a game or two if they wanted to, and I do believe Skinner is able to turn it on in the playoffs.
What kind of experience, and this is just off the top of my head, I don't think there's a lot of playoff experience for Mackenzie Blackwood outside of potentially with a backup in New Jersey, but even then, I'm pretty sure they were pretty bad then too, right?
The last time Mackenzie Blackwood played in a playoff game was the ECHL.
Wow. And did he play, right, in that game, or was he just part of the backup?
He played 4 games in the ECHL.
Okay. So, well, and that's what we always talk about the conversation of, especially last year, Stuart Skinner, couldn't really get it done in the past. He's a young goalie. He doesn't have that experience. But then in the same breath, we always talk about how this team has been or was a win away. Who else was a win away? Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner was a win away, had that experience, got pulled in that Vancouver series. Pickard carried the load, and who wrapped up the series? He got that win, Stuart Skinner did. Yes, did he struggle a little bit? Yeah, but a 7-game series is longer than what it actually is. As somebody who had to stand there in Ford Hall or wherever it was numerous times, it's quite a while.
They should bring back the Ford Hall viewing parties.
Yes.
When we used to all jump around on that trampoline they call concrete. Speaking of Sherwood Ford, let's go to our Sherwood Ford giant question, Brett. For free valet service for all Oilers fans, never visit a dealership again for a car service. Get an exclusive swag package with every nation valet service booked online and get automatically entered to win a monthly prize. Book online at SherwoodFord.ca and make sure you add in the comments section Oilers Nation Valet to get entered into the draw. Also, Sherwood Ford, you can get $400 towards a service plan for all Oilers Nation fans with vehicle purchase. Lots of good stuff going on there at Sherwood Ford. So here's my question. My phone was absolutely buzzing as I was like trying to read the ad read. My phone was just flashing up next to me. I can see the chat, a little bit of my visionary overload all of a sudden. Tobias, I read your comment. I don't know what you want me to do. Glazing for Skinner, how typical. Well, I can't just sit here every day and crap on the guy. I've got to try and move on with the show at some point, to be honest. And yeah, he wasn't good on Saturday. I'm not sure. Well, a lot of people were talking about that on the postgame show too on Friday. It's like, how can you defend him? It's like, we literally said, like, hey, he played terrible. He's played terrible against Toronto the week before. The goalie conversation is probably as strong as it's ever been against Skinner for them to go out and get us another guy. I don't know what you want them to do. Karel Vejmelka is not available because Utah's trying to make the playoffs. John Gibson is probably too expensive. Yes, you can get some retention, but if you get John Gibson, it's pretty much your only move unless you move some money out. So if you think John Klingberg is the answer on the blue line, then you can go get John Klingberg answer. You can go get John Gibson. If you don't, and you have to reevaluate things there, I don't think Anaheim's going to want to retain for 2 years still at, what is he, 6.4, 6.1?
6.4.
6.4. I think, hey, they need to figure it out. And Skinner, I think it has to be done in-house, and Skinner needs to be better.
See, for me, if you're making goalie change, you're not doing it in season. I know Colorado had this entire crease surgery that happened, and so far it's worked, and kudos to them. But for a team that has had, obviously, this history, and for the last couple of years of being such a tight-knit team and a close team, to go in the middle of the season and try and shake up, it's a big shake-up, because you're essentially saying, hey, Stu, we don't trust you. The people in this locker room here don't trust you. And I forget who it was that said it, but it's coming to my head because I watched it after that Friday game. I saw people say to pull Skinner like after the first goal.
No,
or whatever.
you can't do that.
You can't do that to your goaltender's confidence, because it's the same thing. You're essentially saying what you're doing in this game is what you do. You can't win me a hockey game. You cannot win me a hockey game. Our team is better with you not on the ice. And that kind of goes to a similar kind of conversation to acquiring a goaltender. This is the type of surgery that you need to do in the off season, especially if it's going to be somebody who's more of a 1B and not a backup. You know, like they're going to be playing more weight on their shoulders. And the thing with John Gibson is, you mentioned it as well with his contract, he has 2 more years under him. He's having a great year this year, but how can we promise he's going to in the next 2 years?
And he wasn't that good the year before that. And you can make the argument of like, oh, the Anaheim doesn't have the defense. Like, Lucas Dostal's done perfectly fine. And their numbers are quite drastically different. McDowell's put in here. My preference is they still run a tandem of Skinner and Gibson. A good name in here. Walking Campbell's cat. Great name. I said, who cares how much it costs? They can make it work. It's not about the acquisition price. It's about the cap and the idea. Like, I honestly don't know what an equivalent contract would be. I know Anaheim moved on from Cam Fowler this season. That costs there, and he has 1 more year left after this one. Keep in mind, they have 1 more year after that one for Gibson. He cost them a prospect I haven't heard of before and a 2nd-round pick. So obviously some retention there as well. So not exactly groundbreaking deal, but it's just a difficult thing to do. Naeem, nothing would improve the ceiling of the Oilers like getting a legit elite 1B. I just don't know who's out there. JBD Gibson is 3rd in goals saved above expected per 60. Skinner is 43. Pickett is 54th. Yep, Gibson is playing much better right now. Gibson is playing much better right now than those 2 guys. But sorry, Brett, go ahead and we'll move on.
I think the issue, what's going on here, is we're all on the same road.
We all think that a goaltending, you can upgrade their goaltending, and no one would sit here and say, like, what a terrible decision. It's just like the market isn't quite there yet. Like, I know there was that speculation the other day of like Gibson would waive his no trade clause to come to Edmonton. No shit. No kidding. Like, the Oilers are the best team in the NHL, top 5 team, whatever you want to call them, a legit contender. Pretty much any player in the NHL that has a no-move clause would probably waive their contract, their agreement to come and play in Edmonton. That's not what we're talking about. It's trying to figure out a way to do it. I don't know how they got Gibson here. I don't know how they make that money work because they don't have the cap. There was that whole thing the other week, and I think I have a grip on it now. They can only make... They can't make 1 move with their LTIR and their salary cap. They can only make 2 separate ones. So the Evander Kane money is 5 and whatever, 5.5 somewhere, whatever it is. We all know, somewhere around there. That does not fit the John Gibson. So they have to ask Anaheim to retain all of that, whatever the difference would be. Let's just call it $1 million for the sake of argument, $900K. Then that's how you make it work. But then what does that cost you at that point? Is Anaheim going to do that for 2 years? Maybe they would. Maybe they don't have to worry about that. They have $17 million in cap space right now this season. The cap is going up. It would certainly allow them to be more free for the year after. But nevertheless, right now, this is not a conversation because Stan Bowman went out on Friday. I think that report came out too from Pierre LeBrun when he sat down with him and said, we're not looking at goalie. We believe in our 2 goalies. And somehow the conversation has grown more, obviously because of the way Skinner played on Saturday. But we can't do this, guys. I can't do this anymore today. Like, I understand we want to talk about it, and it's a huge talking point, and I appreciate you all talking and bringing up comments in the chat. I really, really do think that the Oilers are going to look to do it in the offseason. That's when they'll figure it out. If Skinner can't get it done for them this year, and then we can all discuss it from there. It's going to be a huge topic of conversation over the summer, and that is what it is. Okay, that was my show for Giant question, but it's quickly turned into it. Okay, we only have a few minutes left, so quickly let's just look at the lines again from the Four Nations face-off. Once I get my Oodle Noodle ad read here we go. The line report is brought to you by Oodle Noodle. Running from today up until March 2nd, go into the Oodle Noodle store and fill out a free ballot to enter a draw for a spot on a nation vacation to Vegas. You can also earn a second ballot for any purchase. Must be 21 or older with a valid passport to enter. Visit oodlenoodle.ca for more details. Obviously, that's for our nation vacation. Going to Las Vegas, March 30th to April 2nd. Why pay for it where you can just go and get some nice Oodle Noodle?
Get some nudes.
Get some nudes. What more could you ask for? Oodle Noodle lineup report. Let's look at the lines from Team Canada. I know they're a little bit different than what they're showing over at Daily Faceoff right now, but the top unit was McDavid, Reinhart, and Braden Point. Second line there was Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Mark Stone.
They're jumbled on here.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
But either way, whatever combination of 12 you want out of these forwards is fantastic. Obviously, who's the extra forward missing on there?
It would be Travis Konechny.
He didn't skate today.
Sorry.
He was ill. So there you go. Moving on to Team USA. Another fantastic group of players here. Let me pull it up here. So Michael Russo tweeted out these were the lines today at practice. Obviously, you heard Tyler talking about Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk not playing together. Top line, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Matthew Tkachuk. Second line, Jake Gensel, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Brady Tkachuk, JT Miller, Matthew Boldy. Fourth line was Brock Nelson. How is he on the team? Vincent Trocheck. How is he on the team? And Dylan Larkin on the fourth line, which feels crazy. And Chris Kreider rotating in their blue line, which is amazing again. Jacob Slavin, Adam Fox, Zach Werenski, McAvoy, Hannafin, Faber, and Sanderson, Jake Sanderson, who was replacing Quinn Hughes at the tournament. Brett, this USA team is stacked.
Nasty. It is so nasty. And even with, I am a big, obviously, as you know, I was a part of the Coming in Hot crew this summer.
You were.
I am a massive proprietor of Jake Sanderson. Yorkie has even gone on record saying that he thinks he'll get a Norris at some point too.
Damn. Calgary boy, Jake Sanderson.
Yes. And they just drafted another Calgary hitman in Carter Yakemchuk. Yakemchuk. And you know what? This team is so nasty. And I continue to look. I'm excited. I know I don't like JT Miller, but I like what he brings to the ice. This is such a fun team. Honestly, I looked at the lines today, and why not put Tkachuk with Matthews and Matthew Tkachuk? Have it be the Matthews Tkachuk line. And I think it would be A, hilarious, but B, just so mental. Imagine that line of Austin Matthews, who's a little bit temperamental, but he'll just go out there, snipe a couple pucks here and there. Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk will get into dirty areas. Both of them have a scoring touch. I think that'd be nasty.
That would be a good one. We won't go into the rumor mill because we spoke about the burning question about Ryan Donato with Tyler, but I will do the ad read because we have to let people know about the Four Nations face-off event that we're hosting it. Greta as well. Tickets are just $10, and if you're looking to upgrade your experience, we've got a VIP option for $40, which includes a Greta burger, a beverage, and a game card. Doors open 2 hours before the 6 p.m. puck drop, so come early and grab your spot and soak up the atmosphere. You can grab your tickets today at nationgear.ca and join us for an unforgettable evening. Go Canada, go. So that's obviously Canada versus USA this upcoming Saturday. It should be a fantastic game. Hopefully a lot of you in the chat can come on down. We can have these conversations in person. I honestly would sit there and talk to you about any player on the team all night if you paid to come to this event and hang out with us, because you listen to our chat you listen to our show every day, single day, and interact with us, so I can spend some time with you guys as well. I'll show you around the football game a little bit as well. So there you go. Okay, quickly, we'll move on to what's trending, because it was a big game yesterday. I don't know if you guys noticed. What's trending, brought to you by Show Power Sports and Marine. Hit the trails this winter and the waves next summer as fellow hockey fans. The team at Show Power Sports and Marine are helping nation citizens gear up. They're home of the ATV for just $50 bi-weekly, or cruise the open waters this upcoming summer for as low as $105 bi-weekly. Show Power Sports and Marine. Hockey fans helping hockey fans get ready for their next adventure with motorcycles, quads, e-bikes, and boats. Boats. What's trending? Super Bowl was yesterday. It was
a generational hate watch.
Not for me. I actually wanted Kansas to win.
What?
I love watching a dynasty grow. I actually think, and I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this, the storyline of watching the great players become great is something I appreciate so much in sports. Like, every time Brady would go, I would always want Brady to win as much as other teams. The Dodgers, as crazy as it is, what they do every single year, as Brett sits there and his Dodgers too. What they're doing is crazy. And I really was looking for Kansas to become the first team to ever win a three-peat. I know they said the Green Bay Packers won, but I guess in the Super Bowl era. And I also might have had a couple of shillings on a few things to do with Kansas City. I will say I'm a Detroit Lions fan, so obviously I wanted Detroit to go and win the whole thing. That didn't happen. But I had a bet over at Bet365 of Kansas to win the game from behind, and he was plus at 150. And I was like, okay, opening kickoff, Philly goes down, gets a touchdown, and I think they got that on the second one, didn't they? And I was like, okay, awesome, this is lining up perfectly. And then Kansas just refused to play. Xavier Worthy was something that he was awesome yesterday. He actually had a really good game once Kansas started playing football a little bit. I saw a stat, which is the craziest one for me, was Philly did not blitz once.
Yeah.
And they got so many sacks.
They did blitz once. They did blitz in the fourth quarter when the game was done. I think it was a fourth down. And it was, I believe it was a safety blitz or a corner blitz, but the safety came right through the line, untouched.
Yeah.
And Mahomes had him in his face. He's like, oh, I'll drop it over here. And I think it was to Worthy. Luckily, he got it off and gone.
Right.
But yeah, I was watching with an Eagles fan. And every single time they got a sack, he would go, we still haven't blitzed. Still haven't blitzed. It was, that O-line was border. I was starting to cheer for the Kansas City Chiefs because I thought that was the Chicago Bears O-line, dude. That was bad.
Yeah, it was really ugly, to be honest, from Kansas, and maybe they had it coming with how weird their season actually was. But nevertheless, what did you think of the halftime show? I thought Usher was better last year.
Oh.
I thought Usher, that's to say that, like, I think what makes the Super Bowl halftime show good, as well, obviously, like, the main performer is always doing, it's always really good, but who they bring out, and for, like, his surprises to be like SZA, someone called Mustard.
That's a DJ. Yeah,
that's a DJ. Okay,
he's a producer. Yeah.
Okay, so, like, good for him to, like, showcase him, I guess you could say, like. Serena Williams, because she, like, dated Drake or something like that.
Hilarious. It's so
very funny. But, like, last year with Usher, like, Little John, Luda.
It would have been sick if it was 2008.
Yeah, and I felt like it was. It was fantastic. So if I'm power ranking them, which I'm not because I only remember two of them, I would go Usher last year, Kendrick this year.
See, I'm a big Kendrick. I loved Kendrick, obviously, because Dodgers, LA, West Coast guy. Will always back him.
Yeah, the performance from him was good.
The performance was great, and I think the issue with a lot of that, I do agree that he needed to bring out more people.
Yeah.
But it just felt like such a big fuck you to Drake the entire
really
time.
did.
I think it was, for me, who sat there and went, I want Drake to be lowered in by his nipples and just absolutely reamed apart in this. I liked it because, especially when he said, say Drake, and looked
that was nuts.
It just, everything to me, I think, was very much, again, like, as somebody who was right in there, in the middle of the rap beef, who's, like, outside for a smoke when the second beat came out, or the diss track came out, and going, Taylor, it's on, turn on the TV. I thought it was very good in that sense. I don't know. I think you needed to be in the know for it to be what it was.
Yeah, that's like when he did Not Like Us. That was really cool.
Did you notice too? So you notice how he kind of teased it and then did a song before Not Like Us.
Yeah,
but he's had like the beat start.
Well, actually, I didn't watch until later on because my Super Bowl halftime show for my fantasy football league is watching the person in last place eat a raw onion.
Hilarious.
And it is every single year. It is fantastic. Not for the people who have to do it. Obviously, I've never had to do it because I am incredibly mediocre at fantasy football. I'm never too good. I'm never that bad. But yeah, we got to watch my my good pal Connor eat a raw onion. So that was really, really good. But I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap, Brick. I just realized it's 1:08. Again, thank you very much for everyone for jumping on the show today. Harry and Naeem, great debate in the chat. I've just done John Gibson. I know Naeem will be here every single day to go for bat for the Oilers to find a new goaltender because he's a very passionate Oilers fan, to say the least. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. We'll be back tomorrow. Tyler, I don't know. He will be back. I just don't know in what capacity he'll be around. I don't know what we're going to talk about either. We'll figure that out. If you got any suggestions, send me a DM on X or Instagram at Liam Horrobin on X or Liam.pods on Instagram. A lot going on there. So there you go. Thank you, everyone. See you later.